Hi guys, I'm Abhijit from Team Digit, and I am here with Justin McLeod, who is the founder and CEO of Hinge, and also Samir Kapadia, who's leading the Hinge efforts in India. Starting off with the story of Hinge, how did Hinge come to be? So, was it a failed love story, or were you trying to match people, make people meet each other?
Yeah, so I was at the end of my second year at Harvard Business School, and really, as someone who's about to go into management consulting, I knew it was really hard to meet new people when you're traveling all the time. I didn't want to join like a Match.com or an OkCupid because that just seemed kind of overkill. But if I could do something that really felt like the way I met people in real life, which is through my friends and through acquaintances, and something where I didn't have to fill out a long profile or do any of that kind of weird stuff that you have to do on a traditional dating site, sounded like something I would do, and that's kind of where Hinge came from.
So, when did you get the idea? What was the year?
So it was 2011.
So, and were you the coder, or did you get help from your friends?
So I grew up coding a lot, and I did some of it in the very beginning, but initially we had a couple developers who were down in Argentina who worked with us, and then eventually, very quickly, we hired in-house developers.
Okay. So, a simple search on dating apps, if I do a Google search, so I'll have an endless list of services which are web applications and mobile applications also. So if I want to look for singles out there with the prospect of dating, so why should I choose Hinge? Why not Tinder or OkCupid?
Right. So really with Hinge, we think of it as it's the easiest way to find the best people for you. And that's because we really believe in the power of social, the power of meeting through your friends. Not only does this give you just like great people, because it's the type of people who are sort of filtered by your social network, which is the kind of people, still most people meet through their friends in real life. But it's also the easiest thing for you to do. You've already gone through the hard work of building up your social network and figuring out who your friends are and all that kind of thing. And now we're just using the power of that to show you great matches. And in addition to that, with social, you have a level of transparency and accountability that you don't have anywhere else. So on OkCupid, someone could really say anything on their profile, and it doesn't have to be true. But there's something about going through friends where you have that level of validation, you have that level of transparency, you really know who that person is. And it's just very different than the sort of anonymity that you see on other, pretty much any other dating service. I mean, no dating service is as transparent and accountable as ours is. No one shows you where you work, where you went to school, who the mutual friends are, your last name. And I think that's the huge difference.
So the matchmaking is based on your mutual friends on Facebook?
That's right, yeah. So really, we're starting with the subset of people who are friends of friends and third degree connections on Facebook, so people who are connected to you socially. And then we're learning, your taste over time as you start to use it. So we can learn, you like to be matched up through this friend and not that friend. You like people who work in law and not in finance. You like people who are of this religion rather than that religion. And so we're sort of kind of like a good friend would, who sort of had been with you and watched your taste over time, can recommend the best people in the social network for you.
So the matchmaking we're talking about, it would choose for people who are in finance or law. So do I have to do that, or does the algorithm do it on its own?
So we learn as you use it. So the more you use Hinge, the more we can sort of parse out your tendencies and then show you more people like that.
Once I am authenticated through Facebook, so this shows that a Facebook account is necessary to join Hinge.
That's right, yeah. You have to have a Facebook account and you have to have a compatible mobile device, so an iPhone or an Android phone.
Okay, so if the scenario changes, like this may not happen obviously, so if Facebook closes down, so do you have a backup for that?
I think we'd worry about that if that were to happen. I think we'd have some pretty advanced notice, but right now, the important thing is to be linked to the place where people have sort of mapped out their real world social connections. And that's why we don't use something like Twitter, for example, is because just because you follow someone doesn't really mean, like, if I follow some celebrity and someone else follows some celebrity, I'd be connected to them, and that doesn't really matter so much. It's more the symmetrical connection, and it's the map of people you actually know in real life, because what we're trying to do is mirror the real life experience of meeting through friends. and so wherever that map exists, that's where we probably try to link onto.
So you talked about third degree connections also.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that work?
Yeah, so that's a friend of a friend of a friend.
Okay.
So if you think about that, that's like a friend and I go out and we each bring a friend, and then they end up liking each other. So it's not a very distant connection.
So the same thing is happening online.
Yeah, exactly. So we do the same sort of thing online.
Okay.
And what we learn is, as we look at the data, a second or third degree connection is highly likely to be relevant to you. And then if you go any further than that, there's a huge drop off in terms of your likelihood of having a mutual interest in one another.
Okay. So it would be restricted only to the network that I have through my friends. Mm-hmm. So I won't be able to meet new unknown people at all.
Not people who are far outside your network. So people who are second and third degree connections, yes. And for the average person, if you consider that, if the average person has our average user has 500 friends on Facebook, which means that you have 25,000 friends of friends, which means that, your third degree connection graph is actually quite large. And of course we limit that then to people who live in your city and people who fit your tastes and your gender preferences and everything else. But it's still a pretty large network.
Okay. Basically what Tinder does is it is a location-based thing, a location-based dating app. So if I was to go out to a different city,
mm-hmm.
so there I could find new people to date or maybe meet, whatever the user prefers. So what are the possibilities when, as a Hinge user, I enter into a new city looking for singles out there?
So it's possible to change your location on Hinge. So if you were to go to a different city, you can change your location as long as it's one of the cities that we're currently live in. Right now, Mumbai is the only city that we're live in India. But it's certainly possible to change your location on the app. But we concentrate much more on the power of social and less on geolocation. So just because someone is in the same, with 2 mile radius of you doesn't really mean that much. I mean, especially in a city like Mumbai, like right, like within 2 miles you have the breadth of humanity, which is great. But also at the same time, it's not necessarily people who are going to be great for you romantically. And so our belief is, yes, someone has to be, within a reasonable distance of you for you to end up dating them. But the most important thing is the power of social.
Okay. So you have the app on the App Store and Play Store. So I was checking out the Play Store. So why is the rating so low over there? Like I saw many user reviews where they were talking about their privacy being broken.
Yeah. So 2 things on that. One is so the Play Store is different than the iOS store in that it keeps your ratings for all of history and piles them up into one sort of rating thing. So
right from
when we started 2 to 3 years ago, we had a very different version of the app that was a lot harder to navigate, and so that's a big reason of the sort of like drag on the user rating. Yeah, it's more of a legacy issue. When it comes to privacy, we take privacy very seriously. I think any sort of reports we almost never get any, but the ones that do, I think, are typically just misunderstandings of what we do. We don't post to your Facebook profile. We don't, we keep all of your data essentially anonymized. People at the company don't have access to the data. Only the people who work in customer service or deep in the algorithms have access to that data. We don't sell user data. We have like best in class privacy standards.
Okay. So I read about that you had to upload 16 photographs. Mm-hmm. So why is the number 16 there?
It gets back to that idea of transparency and accountability. So a lot of times anyone can find 2 to 3 super flattering photographs of themselves, and then you get out on the date and you realize this person doesn't look anything like the photographs. And we believe that it's not just about looks, of course, but looks matter to some people. And so when we upload 16 photos, you of course can change those out ones you want as long as they're validated through Facebook. But we do like for people to be fully represented on the app, so that when you actually go out and meet up in person, you know that you're not wasting your time and you're being misled in any way, whether it comes to their looks or the way that or which school you went to or where you work or any of those other things.
So I can't have less than 16 photographs.
That's right.
Okay. So let's talk about the stats. Like how many users have you do you have on
So if we get into user stats, we've been growing really since the beginning at about 20 to 30% per month of our active user base has been growing. That started with us being just in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. where we launched, and then in New York, and then we're in 34 markets in the U.S. We're now in London and Toronto and now Mumbai. And then in terms of user engagement, which I think we're most proud of in terms of how much they like the app and how much they keep coming back to the app, a typical stat is daily over monthly users. So of all the people who used it this month, over half of those used it today.
Okay.
And then if you look at everyone who's registered throughout all of time on Hinge, more than half of those used it this month. So users definitely consider it. The retention rates are almost like a social network. People will leave sometimes when they get into a relationship, but then whenever they're not in a relationship, they come back to Hinge because they find it as like one of the best places to actually.
And they keep on recommending it to their friends as well.
That's right, which is our growth is 100% organic once we've been in a market for more than 2 months. So when we first enter a market, we'll spend some money on advertising and a launch event and that kind of thing. But after 2 months, the growth is 100% word of mouth, and not even people sharing it through the app, but just being out with friends in real life, telling their friends about it.
So going back, I read that Hinge was a web application in the beginning, like it was there before Tinder.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you think you had to go mobile?
So we started, that was 2011,
Okay.
and 2011, 2012 we were a web application, and I think about mid 2012 we started to realize, while of course we saw mobile as the eventual future, we realized that future was already here. And at about mid to late 2012, we decided to sort of tear down the existing web application infrastructure and rebuild for mobile, and we launched that February 2013.
Okay. So currently in India, we are seeing the rage picking up. Like people are going to dating apps, they are using those apps to meet people actually. So when was the time did you think that yes, we need to penetrate India now?
It's always been on our minds that we wanted to go here eventually. Like I've spent time here in the past. The market is huge. It's the second biggest Facebook market next to the U.S. And it really just felt like, from my experience here and from my friends who are much more familiar with the culture here than I am, the power of your social connections and your social relationships when it comes to dating and relationships is just part of the culture here. So in a sense, it almost feels like Hinge is tailor-made for this market. And so I think it's always been a goal of ours to launch here as soon as we started launching internationally.
So there are other dating apps as well, like there's a few homegrown as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there is Truly Madly, Thrill and Woo. So have you thought about how do you compete with them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Samir's here on the ground for us, so I think you can talk about that.
Sure. So, I think the competitive landscape is diverse, but, in the past year, you've seen, 6 new entrants, whether they've just come into the market or gotten a second round of funding.
Yeah.
So really, you're seeing 2 major trends. One is this sort of bifurcation between matrimonial and casual encounters and dating. You have a few that have kind of sat in the middle and find themselves in sort of a paradox with users. But aside from that, one of the things that they're really doing is focusing on credibility. How do they bring credibility? Whether that's through having digital defenses for women, having people fill out long, exhausting forms, and all these sort of precautionary measures that they use to ensure quality control, but to also curate a good experience for women and for users. We find that we don't have to do any of that. Hinge has the ability to naturally do that by looking at your own social network, and with the transparency and accountability Justin brought about, the user experience is much better. And interesting statistic is, globally, when you're looking at the gender breakdown with these apps, you'll find it's sort of 60-40, 70-30 men and women. Hinge in the United States is 50-50.
Okay.
So I think that's a
Is that a global stat?
Currently, yes.
Okay.
And I think that's a powerful statistic given the way that a lot of the apps, whether it's Thrill or Woo or Truly Madly, how they're trying to communicate to women, that safety, that accountability, that's built in our DNA. So we find that to be a powerful competitive advantage. And then lastly, everyone else, some of them have tried subscription models or other ways to sort of weed out those that they might find would be essentially taking advantage of the app.
The creeps.
The creeps, if you will. Once again, Hinge is very much based on leveraging social, and we kind of cut through the noise with that natural solution to what we're seeing in the marketplace right now.
Okay. So, talking about the ratio, so what is actually the problem going there? If you have anything from the stats?
What is the
men and women ratio on all of the dating apps?
Yeah, it's usually much more men than women, whereas we're 50-50, and I think that just relates to the power of, when we launch in a new market and we spend some money on advertising in a launch event, we'll start out at something more like 60-40 or 70-30, but very quickly women catch up because it spreads virally among women because they have such a good experience on the app relative to other apps. And when we ask them what they most value about Hinge, first is just the quality of the people that they're seeing on the app. The curation from your social network just leads to a much better experience, and that's actually the number one thing that men and women say. And then the second thing for women is the accountability piece. It's the idea that, because I know their last name and where they work, I went to school, and I know we're socially connected, the interactions on the app are just, we don't have issues of people being inappropriate or acting inappropriately.
So I'll be more responsible.
Yeah, I mean, and you can think about it. Hinge gives you that opportunity to meet that girl that was in that class you didn't sign up for, that guy that was in a different batch, that girl who was at that wedding that you were out of town at, and you wouldn't naturally go to these people, your friends of friends, and give awkward comments and be rude or crude or anything of that nature. So it's that extension of reality into our platform.
The dating term isn't like looked upon seriously, so it's like something people raise eyebrows to still, and yet it isn't socially acceptable. So do you plan on handling that issue, or you would just sit back and let it grow?
The current way that we look at the Indian market is to really think of Hinge as a social network.
Okay.
And it's really about looking within your social network and finding those meaningful matches and bringing dating back to reality. The way that things are right now, it's artificial. You have apps telling you that they know better than you. We know who you should be with. Just chop sit. We'll send you. That's not reality. So I think ultimately, whether people use this to leverage just really good relationships, just to meet people, of the opposite gender or the same gender, or maybe they're looking for something more serious down the road. That's really up to them. But the way that people use Hinge in the United States is very much the same. It's about finding that someone you could really look as a companion in the real world, and not just someone who happens to be sitting at a coffee shop next to you.
So, again, connected to that question, so a lot of moral policing goes on. So, if not in every part of the city, but in certain areas, if couples are found, so there are self-proclaimed moral policers over here who go out and thrash them. There have been news, people have thrashed those people. So what if a similar scenario comes out where, like what happened to Uber? So what happened was the people shot down Uber. They held Uber responsible for the whole thing. So if there was something like two people meeting through Hinge and something going wrong, so how would Hinge react to that?
Well, I think first and foremost, we take any sort of matching to meeting very seriously, and in our facts and in the way that we have curated the app for the Indian community is very much based on the same sort of cautionary measures any app would take about meeting people. But I think once again you have to look at the DNA of Hinge, which is about these are people that you would have met. Okay. These are people that as I said. We're just people that are around you, but you haven't seen them yet. They're kind of right in front of you, but you haven't met them yet. So with that being said, there still is a strong, sort of that any attempt to go and meet people, whether it's through an app or not, you have to really vet the person and take that seriously.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, in the end, we're not introducing a new. It's in a sense the practice isn't new of meeting through friends, right? All we're doing is sort of making that easier and accelerating that process. So in that sense, to Samir's point about us being agnostic as to whether this is being used as matrimonial or dating or casual or whatever, it's kind of whatever it is you're looking for and however you use it and however you're currently meeting through friends and when you meet new people, we're just helping you do that.
Okay. So you've seen online dating change. Like I've read that it wasn't socially acceptable in the US also. Online dating, not dating, but online dating, meeting people online.
Yeah.
So that we have seen that change, that the table totally going upside down. So how is Hinge trying to change the online dating scene around the world? Like, what is Hinge's stance? Like, is it late to the party, or there's still more to online dating?
Oh no, I don't think we were late to the party. I think so, and even the term online dating, I think it's almost not even the same thing, right? What you would do on OkCupid and Match.com is very different than what Hinge does, and even I would actually put Tinder in that category too, in the sense that I think the reason that there was such stigma for such a long time in online dating is that it was a fringe market, right? And you would only use it if you were having trouble in the real world and you were willing to pay money or go through all that trouble to fill out those long profiles. And because of that, there was a stigma associated with it. And when Hinge and Tinder came along, it was like, we're using ambient information. So we're using either your Facebook social graph or your current location. And we're using that to introduce you to people in a really lightweight way. And I think that really changed the paradigm for so-called online dating, because no longer... It's so easy, it's like, why wouldn't you do it? So no longer is it for desperate people, it's for anyone. And I think that really helped break down the stigma. And the only remaining stigma is really just legacy leftover from like the Match.com, OkCupid days, which do have stigma to them, I think even still. Whereas something like Hinge or Tinder, just it's so easy and so simple, like, why wouldn't you want to be able to meet more people? Yeah. And so I think that we're certainly at the forefront of bringing down the barrier, and I think it's only apps that make the process as easy and ambient and tied into your real life as something like Hinge that are actually removing that stigma.
Okay. So share some anecdotes, like after Hinge blew up in America and it went viral around the country. So did you use Hinge to meet people?
Yeah, I certainly use Hinge to meet people.
I do too. I'm not great at the chats though. I'm working on that a little bit.
So talking about the experience, so how have users responded to it? Like not online reviews, but after they have actually met people or maybe even married.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
We have tons of stories, and we get written almost every day about people who are in relationships or gotten married or gotten engaged. There's Hinge babies now that that the results, because and so I mean, just a couple weeks ago I had a really good friend of mine from high school write me to say she got engaged to someone that she met on Hinge. So we have a ton of anecdotes and user stories about people finding relationships. Certainly, Hinge attracts a demographic that I think hasn't been attracted to online dating in the past. And people who are influential or famous or whatever will actually use Hinge. There's a number of people who are famous that use Hinge. And because you're protected by your social network, because the matches are curated, you're not searchable. I think it feels a lot safer, and the environment feels a lot more curated and more natural, and it attracts people who wouldn't post a profile on OkCupid.
So, which cities are you planning in India?
So right now, we're really excited about our Mumbai launch. Certainly Delhi is on the radar for us, and ideally I think we have the vision of being national in India by next year.
Okay.
But I think we're launching it sort of the same way that we did in the US, which is we launched in Washington DC. We made sure we really nailed it there, and then we moved to New York and made sure we knew how to expand from one city to the next, and then we started rolling out through a bunch more cities, and then we have plans to go national relatively soon in the US. So I think we'll probably follow something very closely to that roadmap, but we don't know even internally exactly when we're going to launch in Delhi. We want to really make sure that we adjust the product and the marketing and everything to really fit the Mumbai culture, the Indian culture, and so we'll spend the next couple months doing that.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for the interview. So that would be all.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks.